There's a silent war happening inside you, a tug-of-war between the version of you that knows what you're capable of and the version of you that's terrified of actually becoming it. You feel it in the stillness, don't you? In that strange moment when everything goes quiet, and for a split second, you catch a glimpse of the person you could be: powerful, disciplined, full of love and clarity. But then, almost instantly, you shrink back. And the voice inside whispers something subtle but deadly. Who do you think you are to dream that big? This video isn't about motivation. It's about the truth hiding underneath your self-sabotage. The real reason why you delay, why you numb, why you keep living on the edge of your potential without ever fully stepping into it. By the end of this video, you'll understand what's really keeping you small. You'll discover the unconscious fear that's blocking your growth, and you'll feel something even deeper, the quiet permission to finally become who you were meant to be. Because your fear isn't laziness. It's not lack of ability. It's the terror of becoming someone you no longer recognize. Someone you were always capable of becoming, but never allowed. Let's go deeper. Most people are not afraid of failure. They're afraid of what happens when they finally succeed. Because success is threatening, not just in the external world, but in the internal world too. It asks you to die to your old identity, to bury the version of yourself that was comfortable in being small, relatable, average. And you've held on to that version of you like a safety blanket, not because you love it, but because it's familiar. You've wrapped your wounds in that identity. You've made a home out of your limitations. So when a breakthrough comes, when the path opens, you don't run toward it. You freeze. Because to grow means to leave behind. It means letting go of the excuses you've been using to justify your pain. It means you can no longer say, "I'm not ready," or "I've been through too much." To become who you're meant to be, you have to stop hiding behind what happened to you. And that's terrifying. Because if you let go of your past, who are you now? Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And stepping into your full potential is exactly that. Facing your soul. It's facing your fears without the mask. It's seeing your light and knowing it might intimidate the people around you. It's becoming powerful and realizing you'll no longer have the same excuses to lean on. That's why many people chase healing, but avoid transformation. Because healing can still happen in the shadows. You can read books, go to therapy, meditate, all while staying the same. But transformation, it asks for your entire being. It's not a bandage. It's a rebirth. And rebirth is painful. Because when you start to rise, you begin to lose the version of you who was dependent on being broken. You start making decisions that scare your comfort zone. You start setting boundaries that shock the people who were used to your silence. You start becoming someone who's no longer available for mediocrity, and that has consequences. You fear becoming great because somewhere deep inside, you fear being alone in that greatness. You worry that if you finally become all that you are, people won't understand you. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're too much now. And maybe they'll walk away. So what do? You dim. You downplay your instincts. You distract yourself. You stay busy with almosts, and some days, just enough to feel like you're moving forward, but not enough to actually leap. But here's the thing. Your potential is not a fantasy. It's a memory of who you truly are. That pull you feel toward growth, it's not coming from outside you. It's your true self knocking on the door, asking you to come home. It's your higher consciousness whispering, "It's time." But you keep waiting for permission. You think you need to be more ready, more stable, more confident. But the truth is, no one ever feels ready to be powerful. Because power carries weight. It asks you to be responsible for your own life. And when you realize you can no longer blame your parents, your trauma, or the world for where you are. That's where true maturity begins. That's when growth stops being inspirational and starts being uncomfortable. But uncomfortable doesn't mean wrong. It means you're expanding. It means you're leaving the familiar cage of self-doubt and walking into the wilderness of your truth. This is just the beginning. There's a strange discomfort that creeps in when you begin to outgrow your past. It doesn't feel like success. It feels like disorientation. You no longer relate to the thoughts that used to define you. You don't crave the same distractions. The old wounds that once fueled your identity start to feel heavy. And even though this should feel like progress, it doesn't. It feels like loss. Because the part of you that's rising has no proof yet. You're in unfamiliar territory. You're not who you were, but you're not fully who you're becoming either. You're in between stories. And this in between is where most people turn back. Not because they lack courage, but because they've mistaken the discomfort of growth for danger. Your nervous system is wired to protect you. So when you start stepping into more clarity, more visibility, more power, your body interprets it as a threat. Even good things can feel dangerous when you're not used to them. Love can feel unsafe if you've only known attachment through pain. Success can feel fake if you were raised to believe you had to earn your worth. Peace can feel boring if chaos is all you've ever known. So your system rebels, not out of sabotage, but out of protection. It says, better the devil you know. This is why you procrastinate. This is why you keep one foot in the old version of yourself. This is why you do just enough inner work to feel hopeful, but not enough to break the cycle. You're not afraid of trying. You're afraid of becoming. Because once you become, there's no going back. No more hiding behind the idea of potential. No more blaming the past. No more rehearsing your victim story just to feel seen. You'll have to own your power, fully. And that's terrifying. Because power comes with responsibility. If you rise, people might expect something from you. They might put you on a pedestal. They might project their fears onto your confidence. And what if you fail? Publicly? These thoughts aren't weakness. They're wounds. Echoes of childhood moments where you were punished for shining too brightly. Remember that time you spoke up and were shut down? That moment you succeeded and were told not to brag? That season of growth when your friends or family grew distant? Somewhere along the line you learned this. Being fully yourself is dangerous. So, you adapted. You became humble to a fault. Quiet about your talents. Apologetic for your desires. You became so good at surviving that you forgot how to thrive. But survival is not your ceiling. You were made to create, to impact, to shine. And yes, that might trigger others. It might threaten those who benefit from your smallness. But shrinking doesn't serve the world. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And here you are, on the edge of that becoming. Your soul is asking you to move. Not in a frantic way, not with pressure or guilt, but with conviction. The kind of movement that starts in silence, when you finally stop running from yourself. You don't need more affirmation. You don't need someone else to validate your readiness. What you need is the courage to be seen, fully, deeply, unapologetically. And that means facing your shame. Because shame is the chain that binds your potential. It's the voice that says, if people really saw me, they'd leave. If I'm fully visible, I'll be rejected. If I try and fail, I'll prove I'm not enough. But none of that is truth. It's trauma dressed up as logic. The truth is this: you're not too much. You're not broken. You're not a mistake. You are a soul with depth and fire, wrapped in a story that's still unfolding. And the fear you feel? It's not a stop sign. It's a signal. It means you're getting close. Close to a version of yourself that doesn't play small. Close to a life that's no longer dictated by fear. Close to the moment when excuses lose their power. So what now? You don't need to fix everything today. You don't need to know how it all unfolds. You just need to take the next honest step. Not the perfect step. Not the one everyone will applaud. Just the one that feels true. That one choice, made in integrity, begins to rewire everything. Your mind. Your nervous system. Your belief in yourself. You begin to realize, I'm safe to expand. I'm safe to become. I'm safe to be powerful. This is where we begin again. Not from fear, but from trust. There's a moment in every transformation when you realize you can no longer lie to yourself. You've tried to distract, to deny, to delay. You've numbed it with noise, endless scrolling, busy work, shallow conversations. But something deeper is stirring. A quiet ache that refuses to be silenced. It doesn't scream. It whispers. And it whispers truth. You're not just tired. You're unfulfilled. You're not just stuck. You're spiritually misaligned. You're not just scared. You're on the edge of becoming more than you've ever been. But to cross that threshold, you have to do something terrifying. You have to let go of your coping mechanisms. The stories you've told yourself to stay small. The personas you've built to gain approval. The patterns that kept you safe, even as they slowly drained your soul. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before fear got in the way. That version of you who dreamed without limit, who spoke freely, who moved through life with wonder, not performance. But here's the truth. The longer you delay your becoming, the louder your pain gets. Because pain is a messenger. It shows up as anxiety, procrastination, burnout. Not to punish you, but to wake you up. To remind you that the life you're tolerating is not the life you were made for. And when you're on the edge of your breakthrough, resistance will often hit hardest. You'll feel like quitting. You'll overthink everything. You'll tell yourself the timing isn't right. You'll crave certainty. But transformation doesn't come with guarantees. It comes with surrender. And surrender is not weakness. It's an act of power. It's when you stop fighting your truth and start aligning with it. It's when you say, I may not know what's next, but I trust who I'm becoming. Because here's the deeper truth, the one your soul already knows. You were never meant to be ordinary. There is brilliance in you that has been waiting to be seen. There are words inside you that were never meant to die in silence. There is love in you that can transform rooms, cities, lives, but only if you stop hiding. And yes, it's scary. Because when you finally show up as your full self, you risk rejection. But you also create space for real connection. Not with masks, not with illusions, but with people who can meet you soul to soul. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, because it's easier to chase improvement than it is to sit with what is buys. To meet the unpolished parts of you, not with judgment, but with compassion. To realize that the healing you seek doesn't come from fixing, it comes from embracing. From saying, even this version of me is worthy of love. Even this version has value." That shift, that radical self-acceptance, is what unlocks everything. Because when you stop needing permission to exist, your potential stops asking for approval to emerge. And suddenly, you feel the stirrings of a new kind of energy. Not adrenaline, not fear, but conviction. You no longer want to live half-truths. You no longer want to settle for half-aliveness. You no longer want to be liked more than you want to be free. This is where something changes in your posture, in your tone, in your eyes. You no longer shrink when you speak. You no longer apologize for being passionate. You no longer play small to make others comfortable. You begin to live from your center, and people can feel it. They might not understand it. They might even resent it. But deep down, they'll respect it. Because authenticity is magnetic, even when it disrupts. So what does this mean for you? Right now? It means you have a choice. Not a perfect plan. Not a flawless path. Just a moment. To say, I'm done dimming my light. I'm done repeating cycles I've already outgrown. I'm done confusing survival with success. You get to choose honesty over hiding, action over avoidance, alignment over approval. Not for anyone else, but for you. Because your future doesn't begin with applause. It begins with a whisper, enough is enough. What most people don't realize is this: fear doesn't always show up as panic. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic. It tells you to be realistic. It says, don't aim too high. You might fall. It whispers, you don't have what it takes. Not really. And you start believing it, because it sounds familiar, safe, reasonable. But what if that voice isn't your intuition? What if it's a wound? A memory from when someone laughed at your dream. A moment when you reached out and no one caught you. A time when your authenticity was punished instead of honored. These experiences don't just hurt, they shape you. They become silent rules written into your nervous system. Don't stand out. Don't be too much. Don't trust the joy. It always disappears. So you keep yourself small. Not because you lack ambition, but because you fear the cost of expansion. Because every time you've moved toward your power in the past, something painful followed. Abandonment, ridicule, shame. That pain becomes your body's alarm system, even when the threat is no longer real. So when life begins to open up again, when the opportunity arises, when you feel the urge to step into more, you freeze. You sabotage. You run. Not because you're weak, but because your nervous system has been trained to associate greatness with grief. This is why healing isn't just emotional, it's neurological. You have to rewire what you associate with being seen, with being bold, with being powerful. And that doesn't happen in one breakthrough moment. It happens in small, sacred choices. Choosing to speak when you want to stay silent. Choosing to rest instead of prove. Choosing to receive instead of earn. Each time you act in alignment with your true self, even in fear, you build trust with yourself. And that trust becomes the soil where your potential finally takes root. Because here's the truth: your gifts don't flourish in perfection. They grow in safety. And safety isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. You create it by honoring your yes and your no, by keeping your promises to yourself, by learning that discomfort doesn't mean danger. It means growth. And growth is messy. It's not linear. Some days you'll feel invincible, others completely undone. But even in the unraveling, there is sacred progress. Because you are no longer hiding. You are no longer abandoning yourself to fit into spaces that can't hold your fullness. You're learning to sit with the fire of your potential without running from the heat. Carl Jung once wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." To live from your true potential, you must be willing to awaken. To see yourself not as broken but as becoming. To know that the voice of doubt is not a prophecy, it's a residue. Leftover fear, outdated beliefs, old pain, still echoing in your mind. But your soul knows better. It's been waiting, not for permission, but for your attention. Not for the perfect moment, but for your yes. So what happens when you finally say yes? You stop negotiating your worth. You stop performing to be loved. You stop living from fear of rejection and start living from rooted, sacred purpose. That's when things begin to shift, not just on the outside, but in your entire inner reality. You start speaking differently, walking differently, loving differently. Because when you trust your own potential, the world begins to mirror that trust back to you. Doors open, people notice, opportunities multiply. Not because you forced them, but because you're now aligned with who you really are. If you've ever felt like something inside you is waiting to come alive, waiting to break free, waiting to take its rightful place in the world, know this: you are not imagining it. That pull you feel towards something greater isn't fantasy. It's memory. A soul memory of who you were before fear took over, of who you still are underneath the layers of doubt, shame, and survival. You see, the world taught you to fear your light because it didn't know how to handle it. But just because others couldn't hold your fire doesn't mean you should dim it. You've been shrinking to survive. Now it's time to expand to live. No more apologizing for the space you take up. No more postponing your gifts because others might feel uncomfortable. No more asking for permission to be what you already are. Enough. Because that's the lie that fear has whispered into your bones for too long. That you're not ready. That you're not worthy. That your voice doesn't matter. But look at you. Still here. Still rising. Still searching for truth, even when it's painful. That is your proof. You wouldn't be afraid of your potential if it wasn't real. You wouldn't resist your power if it wasn't already inside you. And you wouldn't crave more from life if your spirit didn't know more was possible. The only thing standing between you and the life you were meant to live is the belief that you can't handle it. But here's the truth. You can. You will. And you must. Not just for yourself, but for the people waiting on the other side of your courage, the lives you're meant to impact, the spaces you're meant to transform, the legacy you're meant to leave. Because this isn't just about you. It never was. It's about who you become when you stop letting fear call the shots. And maybe that's why your journey has been so hard. Because your light is meant to break chains, not just for you, but for others. For your family. For your future children. For the silent ones who never got the chance to speak. So don't waste another moment negotiating with fear. Don't waste another day trying to be palatable or polite at the expense of your soul. Let today be the day you rise. Let today be the day you say, yes. Yes to the call. Yes to the risk. Yes to the work of becoming who you really are. Not perfect, but whole. Not fearless, but brave enough to move anyway. Your potential has never left you. It's been knocking. It's been calling. And now, it's your move. You don't need a sign. You don't need a breakthrough. You just need to stop abandoning yourself and begin again from love. Because the moment you stop living from fear, you stop hiding. You start healing. And the world feels the tremor of your awakening. If this message stirred something inside you, don't ignore it. Tap into it. Sit with it. Then take one small step toward your potential today. If this video helped you, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more content that speaks to the soul. And if this message truly resonated, leave a comment and tell us, I'm ready to stop hiding. Because your voice matters here. Your presence matters here. And this is just the beginning.